Patricia Corskadden, and I live in Rathfarnham.
My name is Dominic Corskadden from Rathfarnham in Dublin, and I'm married to Patricia for 30 years.
I've been diagnosed with Parkinson's 9 years ago. I was in New York and I was sitting in our hotel, and I looked down and my foot started trembling. And I said, "That's very strange." I said it to Dominic. He says, "That's just something. It's nothing to worry about."
And before we had even gone to New York, there were several occasions where she would have these, for want of a better description, funny symptoms, like balance wasn't right or something, you know, and trying to find a logical explanation for it. And I'd say, for God's sake, your imagination is running away with you.
Yeah, I found it hard to button up a top. Tiny things that no one would even think about, but it was happening to me and I knew it wasn't normal. So I decided to go and get it checked out.
I think at the time, shortly after we came back from New York, we changed GPs, and as a result of that, he asked her to go and see a neurologist. So she came home and told me this and said, "Will I come with her?" And I said, "Certainly, no problem." And we, two of us went to see a neurologist. I will always remember this. Went into his waiting room, and the door opened. Trish went in. I sat in the waiting room waiting for her.
The neurologist, who was a lovely guy, said to me, "Tell me your symptoms." And I told him. And he says, "What do you think you have?" I said, "I think I have Parkinson's."
And about 5 minutes later, the door opened and the neurologist beckoned me to come in. So I went in and he said to me, "Your wife has Patricia has self-diagnosed." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?"
I think he got more of a shock than I got, because I was just, at the time, I couldn't breathe, had to get me water.
But I said, "And you can tell this in 5 minutes?" And he looked at me, squared in the face, and he said, "Yes." So then he sat both of us down. He explained in graphic detail the condition. Basically, although a lot of it went over both of our heads, saying that it won't kill you, but it will hamper your lifestyle somewhat.
He spoke to me about the drugs and what I would be on and whatever, but it didn't mean anything to me because I couldn't see any light at the end of the tunnel, and I'd only been in there a half an hour to the doctor. So that day I came out and got into the car and just cried my eyes out.
With the early medications, there was no outward signs that she had anything wrong with her.
I worked in Penny's in O'Connell Street, the retailer, and I did the accounts and stuff up in their stock room.
Trish was getting up in the morning when she was going to work at 6 a.m. She would be gone out of the house by about 6:45. She would not come home some evenings till 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening. So I wasn't seeing what her work colleagues were seeing.
I think I managed well in the circle of people that were working there, because there were so many people and you were never stopped. You were on the go all the time. I didn't want anyone to know, because there were a lot of people in there who just would ask you morning, noon and night, "How are you? Are you okay?" And I just didn't want that.
One or two of them were personal friends. One or two of Trish's work colleagues are personal friends, and none of them had said anything untoward to me, like, "What's wrong with Trish? Why is she acting this way?" You know, and I now know that they just didn't know how to take it. They thought change of life, you know, anything and everything other than what it actually was.
There was people there, it was strange, afterwards, who knew me, who never said, "You have anything." But they said to me later, sure, half the staff knew.
I can't remember exactly the term he used, the honeymoon period, which was, I think, between 5 and 7 years. Things change after that. The symptoms become more pronounced.
One of the things that really annoys me is not being able to put on your clothes right sometimes.
The smaller things were taking her a lot longer to do. Everything, even a simple thing like getting dressed in the morning.
I had an awful lot of falls, which is part of Parkinson's, but mine were particularly bad. I was one time in the supermarket and I was looking at things and I said, "Oh God, I don't feel right." And a few minutes later I couldn't move. And you're there and you're pretending you're looking at something and hoping nobody has noticed you.
She was having more and more episodes, and so we went to speak to Dr. Walsh, and he sat and he listened, and he changed medications. He just juggled them around a bit.
Richard put me on a stronger medication, and for a few weeks I was great. I said, this is just wonderful. And then as time went on, I needed more or a different medication.
The oral route, particularly in Parkinson's disease where gastric emptying is a little bit inefficient, is suboptimal, and patients have tablets that often sit around and are not absorbed.
I didn't have the same energy levels. Like I said earlier, I spoke to people and then I'd forget what I was saying. Now, when the medication was upped, it did help, but like they say, you have to have more and more. And
initially that worked, and I say initially for about maybe 4 weeks or thereabouts, and then the symptoms kept coming back in again. And then he suggested that perhaps Trish could be a candidate for a pump treatment.
Patients who are suitable for apomorphine are those patients who have reached a stage of their condition where they find their medication is no longer reliable or efficient. Apomorphine is a drug that's been around for decades now, and it's one of the only medications that can closely approximate the effect of levodopa. Apomorphine has no similarity to morphine, which is a different drug used for pain relief. One of its challenges is it can't be taken orally, so it must be delivered subcutaneously. So apomorphine is delivered via a pump, and this allows us to give a continuous and steady amount of stimulation to smooth out those ups and downs that patients would have experienced on their oral levodopa.
I said, the pump and all that, I said I couldn't do that. And he said, yes you could, because at this stage the medication you're on is failing to do what you're supposed to do.
It was kind of scary because the way it was explained, it was that this pump would be fed into her tummy or her leg via a needle, and when Trish and needles don't get on.
Many patients are a little squeamish when they hear they have to insert a needle themselves or have a needle inserted by someone else every morning. It's quite a tiny needle, and the system is very similar to what a diabetic might use when injecting insulin. The pump is actually very small and could fit in the breast pocket of a shirt or in a trouser pocket, so it's not hugely invasive. Compared to the other device-aided therapies we have, it's also the least invasive. The drug is delivered under the skin, into the fat of the abdomen or legs typically, via a small needle that's placed every morning, and that needle is removed every evening, and a new site is chosen the next day.
And then when we actually saw it, when we were brought up to the hospital one day, and the rep from Clonmel Health came in and showed us the whole thing and the way it's all put together, it wasn't as frightening. Not for Trish, not for me, for Trish. When you see someone that you love literally disappearing in front of you, it's very, very hard. And anything that can halt that progress, halt the disease's progress in any way, shape or form, you jump at it with both hands, you really do.
Like other pump-based therapies available to us, it smooths out those on and off fluctuations throughout the day, delivering a more reliable movement response to achieve more independence.
And I said, right, who's going to teach me how to do this? Because I haven't a clue. One of the girls just came along, and before I knew it, I was on it. I found it very difficult, but my husband was brilliant. He looked at it about once or twice. He says, yeah, he says, I can do that. And whereas I'd love to know how to do it myself, I'm progressing, because I can start it and I can finish it, but it's the bit in the middle is the problem with the needle.
We typically like people who are embarking on apomorphine to have a carer, a spouse, someone at hand who can help them set up the pump in the morning during periods of stiffness or slowness that might make that difficult. So it really is ideal to have a caregiver present when pump therapy is being considered.
I could feel myself getting lighter, that I don't have that heaviness on me anymore.
Her freezing episodes seemed to have stopped completely, and her dyskinesia for the most part was gone. Every so often you would see signs of it, but very little by comparison. Whereas before the pump, dyskinesia was very, very evident to everybody.
Most patients can expect a very significant improvement in off time on a daily basis. Most patients will experience a clawback of 2, 3 or more hours of good function per day, greatly enhancing quality of life. Most patients will still need to take some oral medication in the background, and where patients were experiencing dyskinesia throughout the day, that dyskinesia tends to be reduced. Unlike some of the other device-aided therapies we have, most patients who are on apomorphine don't get quite the same reduction in oral medication that we see with other therapies. And therefore, some patients can experience some ongoing dyskinesia as they take their oral medication in the background.
There are days where it's not perfect, but to me it's the best I've ever taken.
It's not going to get rid of all the symptoms all of the time, and we're both aware of that. But as I said, anything that makes life just that bit more bearable, I'll go with it certainly, and as will Trish.
One issue that can become a challenge over time is irritation of the skin. And for most people this is minor redness, minor itchiness that can be overcome, and people can get used to it quite easily. For some people, nodules can form over time. We have some things that can help with this. Focused ultrasound therapy is sometimes used, silicone pads or various gels and preparations can help alleviate some of that irritation and nodule formation.
The packaging that all this stuff comes in, I think there's about 5 different components you put together. They're all wrapped individually, very well wrapped. In fact, you need scissors to access them. A simple thing like cutting open a container with a scissors for you or I is straightforward. For somebody with Parkinson's, depending on which variety they have, can be a major, major problem. Or even twisting some, like for example, say Trish's problem with keys, putting a key into a lock and turning it. But overall, the benefits totally outweigh anything that could be wrong with the system.
It's miraculous to me. I would recommend anybody who's thinking of it or who's come to the end of the line and they badly need these type of medications. There's no fear in them. I think everyone goes in and they're afraid. You really need to speak to somebody. That's the one thing I would say. It's not to talk to somebody, to cry on their shoulder. It's talk to someone to see how they are managing, doing what they're doing. I would definitely recommend it. When the first week passed and I had no freezing, that was the main thing in my life. It was so horrible.
It has benefited Trish, there's no two ways about that. Her life is a lot better with the pump than it would have been without the pump.